Welcome to my channel. I don't know if you know this, but the foundational mission, it's a deep one, is to help more people experience mental, emotional, and financial freedom. And to that end, I have a coach, Joe Johnston, and a speaker to talk to us today about what he's seen coaching different clients in terms of some of the top challenges that these clients face around mental health and well-being, and some of his concrete strategies to create a life that is optimal, that is vibrant and full. And so guys, if you like this video, of course, make sure to give the like button a love tap. The YouTube algorithm loves that too. And subscribe for weekly sales, mental health, and personal growth hacks that you can chew on like snacks. Joe, thanks so much for being here, man. How's your new year starting off?
Yeah, bro. Appreciate you having me on. It's been good, man. It's been good. I will say actually on that question, it was like, and I think this is like a super important concept that I looked back on is everyone goes into the new year, right? And like myself, dude, is like big goals, big revenue goals, whatever, in business, personal goals, things that we're going to change. You know, I like to do this end of the year goal setting activity. And what was super interesting for me is I was ready for this growth. New Year's hit. I went into it. And it was like, dude, the first month or so was actually like super tough in business and personally. And dude, looking back on it, it was all meant to happen. It was just like kind of the difference between expectation and reality, right? It's like, dude, we go into a new year and we're super excited and we want these big goals and we will achieve these big goals with the condition that, dude, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be ups and downs that come with it, and there's going to be road bumps. And I hit that early on in January, which looking back and looking at the nature of my business, like should have seen it coming. But it was like, dude, you come in with these big plans, you're super excited, and then you get after it, and then you get hit with a road bump. And, you know, the question becomes, do you take that and do you sit down in that loss, or do you just realize, hey, this is all part of the process to get me to where I want to go, right? So, dude, New Year's has been great. I'm back home right now on the East Coast, back in the city that you and I both know and love.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, it's good to be
Austin.
home. A little chillier here. Yeah, a little chillier here than down in Austin, but good to be home for a couple of weeks, man, recharge the batteries, and everything's good, man. I'm honored to be here.
It's really great to have you. And for the audience, for their awareness, I worked with Joe as a coach, and especially as I look to get into speaking, he's done it, especially in the college market, and he's expanding to the corporate space. So I've learned a lot from him. He's been a friend and a mentor. And again, he has experience coaching different clients, and a lot of them are around our age, young professionals that have big dreams. And we're looking at things like, I saw a quote the other day that talked about some people master the science of achievement, but they never learn to master or understand the art of fulfillment. So I think, Joe, you're running into, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but a lot of folks who are very successful, but they're looking for balance and to create well-being and mental health and to find fulfillment. Again, I'm putting words in your mouth, but do you find that to be the case? And do you want to speak to that quote?
Yeah, I mean, 100%, dude. It's a great quote. And it comes a lot. I got that idea from Tony Robbins because he talks about that. And, you know, getting into business, dude, you realize like success is mechanical. Business is super mechanical. It's a numbers game, really, when it comes down to it. It's hard work, right? At the same time, success is a very mechanical thing that anyone can really master, I believe, right? On top of that, you know, fulfillment, as you and I both know, is this trickier thing, right? What does fulfill a person? What does give Chris Bussing meaning? What does give Joe Johnston meaning or fulfill me as an individual, as opposed to you, as opposed to, you know, Logan Sneed, as opposed to anyone else? And so it's more of a subjective contextual thing. Whereas I think success can be a little more hard and numbers driven, and this, you do this and you will be successful, and you do this over time and you do it at scale, and you will be successful. In terms of the clients that I see, man, yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, that's one of the things that I aim to do with my clients. And this is something I've been working on as I'm optimizing my sales and my marketing process, is like, look, selling a life coaching deal, selling a transformational coaching deal is such a tricky thing because it's not like fitness. It's not like business where you can point to physical results. Often the results that I'm getting my clients are very, very intangible. However, the clients that come to me know they're coming to me for a specific reason, right? They're coming to me for a specific internal pain that they've been feeling, lack of discipline, social network that isn't optimized that's causing them pain, lack of dating results, internal self-image, lack of self-esteem, whatever it is. But it's this very intangible thing. And so, yeah, man, I certainly have clients who are super successful financially, yet they struggle in their social lives or they struggle in their dating lives, and it's causing them a lot of pain, right? And so they have financial and professional wealth, but they don't have social and intimate, wealth and relationships. As you and I both know, in building the social networks that we have over the past couple of months, like, dude, that stuff's worth its weight in gold. Dude, I also have clients that are maybe a little younger, starting out their professional journeys and are on an entrepreneurial path or their own path. So maybe don't even have the success dialed in yet, are on their paths to doing so and becoming more high achieving. And in the meantime, want to get rid of some anxiety, want to get past some belief barriers, want to get past some things that they've been holding on to for a while. So I don't think, and we talked about this before the call, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think you can have success and master the science of success and not have the art of fulfillment. I think you can master the art of success and also master the art of fulfillment. I think also as well, you can master the art of fulfillment, but not have the science of success dialed in. I think you could also have both not dialed in, right? So I think it's broad ranging. I would say though, when I think about my coaching and I look back at the clients that, I have coached, and again, still trying to find what the marketing message is here. Like, dude, I help them transform, right? I help them find more discipline. I help them find more peace. I help them find more freedom. I help them find more confidence in themselves, more self-esteem, more self-love that was always within them anyways. But we just help them get past the barriers that were standing in their way. And I mean, dude, I would leave it. I have one of my, former clients on the call now. It's like, what did we do together, right? We were working on public speaking. I would argue, based on your own transformation, a lot of our coaching and some life circumstances and you putting in the work, a lot of our coaching led to results beyond getting you speaking gigs and getting you a financial return. The person, and again, maybe I'm biased here and a little subjective, certainly, the person you are today, the habits you are today, the man that you are today is a drastically different one than the one that I originally met. You are more confident. Again, from my perspective, you're more confident. You have more self-love. You are more powerful as an individual. You're more dialed in your habits. And as a result of that, you're making more money. You're living a better life. You have a higher quality social network. Like, again, it's all these sort of intangible results. Now, is that a direct correlation to the coaching work that we did together? I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't say that it's all of it. I'd say it's you realizing that you needed to make some changes in your lives, and our work together kind of helped it to facilitate that. But yeah, I'd say like, dude, I don't know exactly how to explain the coaching yet. I just know that it works, and it leads to transformations.
Yeah, what I would say, being on the other end as one of your clients, is the accountability.
Yeah,
helps a lot. Sometimes we don't hold ourselves accountable, and having someone who is committed to that and committed to our success, sometimes more than we are, really helps. You were ruthlessly compassionate. You were willing to call me out when I needed to hear it, coming from a place of tough love. And you knew that there was more you could pull out of me. And so I see that as a huge value add in terms of having a coach. So I really appreciated the work we did together. And I wanted to bounce to another topic, and it's all interrelated, but it seems that in today's world, especially with the younger generation, me included, there's a scarcity of self-esteem and there's an abundance of anxiety.
Totally.
And maybe those are two different issues, but I think they are tied together. Could we riff on this topic a little bit? Where do we think that scarcity of self-esteem is coming from, and that abundance of anxiety? And what can we do to work on those things?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a great question. It's a broad question, and to say that I have all the answers on this would be misleading. But I can take a shot at it, right? So I mean, I would agree, right? Like, one of the biggest things that I see in my clients, and I think a lot of people see, like, at the heart of a lot of trauma, at the heart of a lot of pain and healing work that needs to be done, is a lack of self-love and a lack in, like, true belief that we are worthy of the things that we want and desire in our lives, right? And so that kind of hits to one of the things that you hit on, where that roots from, and particularly in today's society. I mean, I think it's undeniable that a lot of those self-esteem stuff, a lot of that self-worth, a lot of the anxiety stuff comes from social media and comes from technology, right? And so let's look at, again, what the root of anxiety is and where it comes from. Anxiety ultimately is a fight or flight response, right? It's something that if we go back to our ancestral days and cavemen days, like anxiety was the thing that was shot up when we were in danger. So when the saber-toothed tiger came from around the corner and we were with the tribe, anxiety would shoot up of like, I need to either fight or flight, because if I don't do either of those things, I'm going to die. And so that's what anxiety was. The nervous system lit up. There was physiological response to certain things that said, hey, threat is near, potential death is near, I need to get anxious right now. Where else does anxiety? So it's a fight or flight response, and it's serving to keep us protected. So what that means is that anxiety and the anxiety response is going to come up anytime in our lives that our brains believe that it is in danger or in threat of, ultimately the ultimate thing of, losing life or being harmed, whatever it is, right? That's our brain's number one job, and that's what fires the anxiety response. What are some other things that can do that? Well, ostracization, so getting kicked out of the tribe, right? Not having enough money to have food and water, obviously threat of death and things like that. And so let's look at some of those things today. Now our brains are living in a world where there aren't saber-toothed tigers, right? We're not hunter-gatherers. We've evolved a lot, and yet anxiety rates are through the roof. Well, if we look at things like social media, where comparison is abundance, where, ostracization can be kind of perceived in a certain way because we go on social media and this person who we thought we were friends with didn't like our post just because they were busy. Now our brains start to create all of these problems that I believe then lead to anxiety that weren't there before. Then we look at comparison. Well, we're comparing ourselves to all of these people. And so I think a lot of that anxiety that we're seeing today and the record highs of it come from things like social media, come from our interconnected world, which again, social media and technology is a beautiful thing, but also come from, this ultimate connectedness that we are seeing the stuff that's going on in the world today on the news. Like, you can be tapped into that 24/7. And if you are, your brain and your body is going to be physiologically conditioned to that thing. It is going to, your spotlight of awareness, which you only have so much of it, is going to focus on that thing. And then your brain is going to go, it's going to start to light up and be conditioned to that is everywhere, right? This is going on in this part of the world, which is absolutely awful. If you're looking at that all day, however, your brain is going to just start taking that in, and it's going to start saying, this is how the world is everywhere. And then it's going to be threat and danger and all that stuff. Now, how does it relate to trauma, right? Which I'm sure we'll get into here in a minute, is, the same things happen when something traumatic happens to us, right? Our brain's job is to keep us alive. And so when something traumatic happens that threatens our lives, our brains clench up. They get into fight or flight. And, whether this is an acute event that happened, whether this is something chronic that happened in our childhoods, often, particularly when this happens at a young age, when our brains are unconscious, is our brains remain clenched in that state, and they remain locked up in our bodies. We actually store that trauma in our bodies. And so, if we were abused when we were children, or even just something minuscule that happened and we took in the wrong way, we store those things. Our bodies, our brains are also looking mainly at negative things more than positive things, because being aware of the negative is what keeps us alive. The positive doesn't matter as much as where's the negative, where's the danger, so that I can see that, so that I can be aware and keep myself alive. And so, again, when something traumatic happens, our brains clench up, our bodies clench up, they start to store it. If we don't release that over time consciously through different therapeutic techniques, if we don't heal those roots, then it's going to turn to symptoms. It's going to turn to physical ailments down the line, because that trauma is stored in our body. It's going to lead to increased anxiety down the line, because our bodies are now physiologically conditioned at a different level, right? If I grew up in an abusive childhood home, my body conditioned itself to be on alert, to be in fight or flight, so that I could stay alive. Now, 10 years later, when I've moved out of that home, if I haven't done the work to heal, to treat that root, then I could be experiencing, anxiety all the time. I could be experiencing anxiety in relationships with certain people, because that's what I grew up in, right? And so that's another piece that I think comes with anxiety on top of the evolutionary, where it sort of comes from, is it also stems from trauma, It stems from traumatic events occurring. Our bodies, our brains getting conditioned to get into that fight or flight anxiety response. And then, you have a Bella there. If something happened to Bella out in the world and she saw something, what's up, Bella? Good to see you. She saw something out in the world as a dog, their brains are easier enough to go, okay, that happened. Ooh, I shake it off and it's over. Our brains are advanced enough where we store that stuff. And so sometimes some of these healing methods and techniques have to be a little more evolved than a more primitive, species like a dog. So
that's a good point. Dogs are so mindful, like they just
they're great.
Like I could yell
their
at
brains aren't as advanced, so it's a little more primitive where they can go, they see it, okay, they shake it off, they're on to the next moment. They're not storing that in their memories. Their brains aren't supercomputers like ours are. They're a little more primitive, and so it's easier for them to shake it off. At the same time, they can't build companies in Tesla because they're dogs, right? And so because our brains have evolved to the point that we are today, and to build all these beautiful things to allow us to do this, I mean, our brains built that. Some Steve Jobs and people's brains built this technology. At the same time, that comes with, well, it also stores stuff. It stores past memories and then projects that onto relationships 5 to 10 years into the future.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That was super in-depth.
It's so helpful. And there's a million tangents upon which I want to take this conversation. But, what I'm taking away is that one of our gifts, our ability to be deeply reflective and thoughtful, can also be a double-edged sword that can lead to anxiety and other issues. And if in those times when we're facing anxiety or if it's flaring up, we can channel our inner puppy like Bella, that might help to be a little more mindful. So
totally. And Chris, I would say as well, to go off of that, is like continuing to do the work and continuing to do the inner work. I think there's a fine balance when it comes to healing, when it comes to personal development, of not doing what one of my buddies and a very good coach, Aaron Alanese, calls as dumpster diving, which is like, and we all know people who do this. They dig into their past and they say that this is the why I'm the way that I am, because this happened 5-10 years ago, and that's always how I'm going to be. And there's people in the personal development world that do that as well. They take on that victim mentality. You probably have at one point in your life. Fortunately, we don't anymore. But also being aware of the fact that, like, dude, shit happens every day, right? Shit happens in business, shit happens in life every day. And so having techniques, which we'll get to at the end, some tools, journaling, meditation, taking care of your mental and emotional well-being every single day as like that maintenance is super important, right? There's certain clients that I work with immediately. We're getting into like the big quantum work. We're going deep. We're letting go of old patterns and stories and neural pathways. On top of that, going forward, once they've let go and healed from a lot of that stuff, and maybe we've gone through a healing phase, then it becomes maintenance. Then it becomes, what do I do on a daily basis to maintain my mental and emotional well-being for optimization and joy and peace and happiness?
Yeah, that is so well put. And so I wanted to dive into one of your core themes, and you've already started to allude to it. And it's treating the roots and not the symptoms, because I could have a symptom of anxiety or anger problems or other emotional and mental challenges, and I treat the symptom with drinking and numbing or
medication,
things we can do to treat those symptoms. But you're saying that there is a root cause, and we can put in the work to get to that root cause and alleviate the symptoms altogether. And so can you talk about what that treating roots versus symptoms means to you?
Yeah, dude. And like, this is slowly, I think, becoming more and more my life's work, and like the kind of flag that I die on, right, to a degree, and like what I've been preaching more and more in my speaking work. Like, this is my main talk. When I get booked for speaking gigs at colleges, universities, whatever, it's on mental health. And this is how I approach it. And I think it's a different approach. I think it's a unique approach. I get very passionate about this because I think there's a lot of modalities out there for healing that only treat symptoms. And ultimately, if you're looking to get into one of those, a coach, a therapist, whatever, like, save your money, right? Because treating symptoms is important for sure. And I think that's what a lot of the daily work does. With that said, no lasting real transformation occurs that I've seen in my life unless the root is addressed, right? This is Sigmund Freud, the psychoanalytical field, kind of one of the big things that he got into, went a little too far and deep into it. But it's like dude, in a lot of work that we do, it's like, so let's imagine this is the best example that I get. So every time you go and talk to a girl, you feel anxious. Let's just say that's something, right? You feel this feeling of anxiety in your body. So one of the things that I could do is I could ask you, perfect, go to that moment when you feel that. Where are you feeling it? I'm feeling it here in my chest, because the body knows and it stores. I'm feeling here in my chest. I feel a tightness. Perfect. We identify what that is. Sweet. Let's do this. I want you to go back, let your subconscious mind to just go back to the first time in your life where you can consciously remember feeling that in your body, feeling that feeling. Now we're taking back to the root of maybe where that, well, when I was younger, I was talking to this girl and she rejected me, whatever it was. Perfect. That was at like maybe 13, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Let's go back further than that. Well, I can remember when I was maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years old, I was in the house and my parents were yelling and, I had this feeling in my body. Perfect. If we could then get to the root and change that and transform and address that pattern, that story that got embedded of every time that I interact with someone in an intimate manner, I start to clam up and I get this feeling of anxiety, and we treat the root of where that originally came from. We treat the root of what led to the alcoholism and what led to, the maladaptive behavior today. Then the symptoms start to disappear, right? And so that's why I always say, like, things like alcoholism, things like struggling and feeling anxious in relationships, things like feeling anxious on a daily basis, things like, let's say porn addiction, maladaptive sexual behaviors, whatever, dude.
What about fear of public speaking? Is that, the ostracization, like maybe as a kid?
Yeah, I like to argue that I think the fear of public speaking, look, some people don't like public speaking. But to be fearful of it, I think comes from a couple things. I think it certainly can come from a root of when I was in 3rd grade, I went up and spoke and my teacher told me it was awful and everyone laughed and like, boom, traumatic event. Now I hate public speaking. That certainly can be it. On the other side of it, I think it's that social ostracism piece as well. Like we've chatted about, is like, dude, I still get nervous with public speaking and I've always had pretty great experiences with public speaking. One of the reasons that I get nervous is like, dude, what if I fuck up? What if I go in front of 200 strangers, I fuck up and everyone hates me and then I get ostracized from the crowd, right? So there still is that deep-rooted thing. But yeah, I think public speaking can come from that too. That fear of that could come from a trauma. And it's like, dude, it's not all from roots. There's other things that come up, right? But like most of the symptoms that we see that start to become maladaptive, like some of the ones that I rattled off, there's a deeper root there that if we heal and release the energy around the root, the symptoms start to slowly dissipate, right? And so the other thing that like to look at this is like to see if there's a symptom in your life is like, where is there a pattern in your life that isn't just occurring one time, but it's occurred multiple times? Yeah. So it's like, if you've dated 10 girls and 10 of those girls all sucked, were terrible, terrible relationships, it was just awful. It's like, there's a pattern there. And me as dating the 10 girls is the underlying common denominator, right? And so if I have the self-awareness
with you,
what's that?
What you're saying, like you're the common denominator or me, and the problem actually lies with us. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's a problem. I would say there's a pattern there that like, look, we can change the external world 10 times. And if you are getting a similar result and you have a similar perspective on it, maybe it's not the external world. Maybe there's something internal that's leading to this maladaptive behavior and relationship that you should take the internal world to look at. And if you switch that, then you'll actually find going forward that the relationships aren't maladaptive anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And so I wanted to talk about how to concretely address the roots. What are some of your modalities or techniques that you apply to help your clients address their underlying roots of their mental or emotional health symptoms?
Yeah, bro. Great question. And like, look, there's no right one modality that works. I've explored a few in my life. I'm sure there's many, many others that I'm still trying to be on the cutting edge on that work. And I'm always trying to implement new stuff with my clients that work for the specific clients. Again, I think when it comes to healing, when it comes to transformative work, and this is like one of the things I've stuck on with coaching as well. It's like, it's hard to sell someone on a coaching program, specifically a transformational life coaching program, if they don't really, really want it and first have that awareness of like, I want to change. And I think that's for anything, right? You and I both know we're in sales. If there's not a need there, if there's not a pain there that the customer or the client is willing to get rid of or willing to invest to get rid of, it makes it a lot harder to sell them something and to do that in full alignment, right? And so that's all to say that awareness is the first step, right? The first step to recognizing. The first step to solving any problem is first recognizing that one exists. Number two, I'd say off of that is openness to change, openness to the possibility that though your life might have been this way for so long, though you may have felt anxious for so many years in your life and has almost become a part of your identity, if you stay open to the possibility that you can change drastically, and you can change really, really quickly, right? If you're open to it and you're open to that change and you're open to just, hey, I'm going to do this work, I'm going to see what happens, right? So I think that's the thing. For me, man, one of the things I've really been utilizing lately that I found to be one of the most effective forms to lasting quick transformation is NLP, Neurolinguistic Programming. So, I won't get too deep into what NLP is. Truthfully, I don't really know all the little details behind it. Neurolinguistic Programming was something that came about onto the 1980s around that time by Richard Bandler and John Grindler. And it is something that has really kind of blown up, and it's how it works is basically it treats the brain in a cognitive manner like it is, which is like a computer, right? And so neurolinguistic programming is how do we change the programming of the brain? How do we change the hardware, the hardware of what the brain has, the programming, the grooves that we have through things like language, through addressing through language, linguistics, the neurology of the brain. So how do we reprogram it, right? Yes. And so this again goes to, dude, the programming is ultimately some of the roots. We all have programming of how we see the world. And that programming was formed often at a young age from 0 to 7 when our brains were unconscious and just taking everything in. And maybe some of that programming is off. For me, in full transparency, my programming around money and finances and what it meant to make money is something that I've worked on for a lot this past year, because I realized, dude, my programming wasn't serving me. I had a poor money mindset. Yeah. Was that because of my parents or growing? Yeah, man. Was that because of my parents or growing up or society? I don't fucking know, dude. I'm not going to sit here and blame fingers. All I'm going to say is like, dude, I want to rewire my programming around money. And understanding NLP, understanding the power of neuroplasticity, which is our brains can change over time. We can do that thing through meditation, through a deep process like NLP. We can actually go in there and start rewiring those things. So that's one of the things that I use with my clients is neurolinguistic programming, NLP, to give kind of a broad overview of what it is. We're getting in there, we're looking at past memories, and we're just we're rewiring them. We're rewiring the grooves of how they are in our brain and mapping them to new grooves that are being more serving. So if I have a belief that is, not great around money, I can take that out. I can start to remove that, map that to a different belief, and then can look at the new belief that I want and map to that belief, right? So I know this is kind of a broad overview of what it is, but I really like to use neurolinguistic programming. I think a big thing as well that can be helpful is things like meditation. Having a consistent meditation process can be super helpful in rewiring some of the neurology of the brain. Reading and getting knowledge on it.
Yes.
Inner child healing, therapy, a good therapist, a good coach. I mean, there's a million different modalities. I think the biggest thing is one, the awareness of the problem, 2, the willingness to change, and 3, the willingness to go deep in that change, right? And the willingness to not just put a Band-Aid on symptoms, but truly get down to the root of what things are and to heal that. Because again, when we do that, then we see real change and we start to see the daily symptoms start to preside and more peace, more joy, more fulfillment, and just feel better on a daily basis.
So awareness, a willingness to change, and a willingness to actually get on the court and take action. Now,
and go deep.
And to leap, you said?
And to go deep in that change.
To go deep in that change. Now, with the awareness piece, I think you hit on this, but to what degree do we need to be aware? And I ask that because I've seen in the past where I'm like, oh, this is why I am the way I am. And I get so deep into it. And I actually focus more on like how messed up I was and like making excuses and victim mentality. So on the awareness piece, to what degree is it healthy to be aware and then move on to getting deep into change? And of course, you have to be willing to, we're going to assume you're willing to go deep into change.
Yeah. And so can you ask your question one more time, just so I got it?
Yeah. So when it comes to awareness, to what degree do we need to spend our time on awareness, right? Because I've seen with myself, if I'm so focused on the problem and it fixated on it, it actually magnifies and I get caught up in it. So like, what does awareness really look like?
Yeah, well, and I think, awareness is important that a problem is there. I think the understanding that maybe the addition that needs to come to awareness, I think that the addition that needs to come to awareness potentially is the fact that realizing that you're not your problems, right? And you're not that thing. And this is where we're getting into the concept of identity, and meditation can be super helpful with this. It's like, dude, all the things that we think we are, good, bad, and ugly, we're really not. We're just beings, dude. We're just things. We just have this energy within us, and we have this life force within us that, what's that?
At meat sacks, I heard, and it sounds so funny to say, but it was at a personal growth seminar that I went to that's highly recognized, called Landmark. And they were like, yeah, they were kind of, it's tongue in cheek, but like we're a sack of meat, like we lump in all this meaning on top of things. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, totally, dude. It's so true. We are sacks of meat, and we're just energy at the end of the day. And so meditation and things like this can be helpful. I mean, it can be helpful for things like, dude, curing narcissism and ego and worry around money or whatever it is. It's like, dude, we attach all of these things to this also goes back to self-worth. It's like, dude, if I'm making this amount of money, then I am this amount of worthiness. A lot of people do that. I've done that before, right? It's like, maybe, dude. Or maybe you're just a being who's powerful. And also it's like, dude, why don't you judge yourself on the person that you are? How do you treat people? How do you interact? How do you feel on a daily basis? But we get so caught up in, I am this story, I am this problem, right? Our brain starts to focus on all the things that are wrong with us, all the things that we've done wrong in our past and all that stuff. And so back to your question, don't want to get too much off track, is like, awareness of the problem is important, but really doing your best to just say, hey, this is just something that I have, right? It's like, dude, if our car had a flat tire, it's kind of a problem with the car, which isn't allowing it to function at the highest level that we would like it to, we wouldn't scrap the whole car and call the car a piece of shit. We might quickly, but then we'd say, no, dude, we just got to fix the tire. Once I fix the tire, I upgrade the tire, car is good as new, maybe even better, right? And so I think it's the same thing as human beings. Just look at these little aspects, these part of yourselves that you're looking to optimize for, be aware of them, and then also be aware of the fact that you can change those things. You are not those things. You're not your past. You're not those stories that you attach to yourself. You're a being who is meant to evolve, who's meant to grow. And again, through neuroplasticity, through the tools that are out there today, you can do those things. You can do those things very effectively. And so hopefully that answers your question. Is awareness is important, but doing your best to be aware and then get to the phase of like, okay, I'm aware of this problem and aware that I want to change it. Now let's go take action to change it as quickly as possible, right? As opposed to just like, hey, I'm aware of this problem. This is a problem I've had forever. This is just who I am. This is who I'm going to be forever. I'm a piece of shit, right? It's like, no, dude. It's like, okay, you have this problem, this thing that's causing you pain that you want to come over, you want to overcome. Cool. Awesome. Now let's go lay out a plan to go solve that thing.
Yeah, no, you answered the question so well. And I think of Tony Robbins, and roughly speaking, he said, I don't care who you were or you thought you were 10 years ago, 10 months ago, 10 weeks ago, 10 days ago, 10 seconds ago, you are not your past. And I love that we have an ability to put that past in the past and invent a new future, invent who we want to be, and generate that intentionally. And so what you're saying reminds me of that. And I think people need to recognize that in this moment. Today, you have the chance to really transform and grow into who you really want to be. We are not fixed facts, and we are not problems to be solved, although we have some problems that we can tackle. And that brings me to, the piece that you mentioned, which is taking action and going deeper to tackle those challenges. And I'll tell you this, I heard Jordan Peterson, oh shoot, Bella bit my finger, ow. You can't see her, but I had, speaking of problems, I had went to talk with Jordan Peterson in Austin, and he said problems, actually, we should be grateful for them. They're a call to adventure and a call to purpose. And maybe you've seen this in your life, but don't you think that our problems actually could be our opportunities to find deeper meaning?
Totally, dude. And life's boring without it. Like it really is. And the biggest example I can draw in my own life is within my business. It's like, dude, there are times in my business where I'm not that busy and there's not that much stuff going on and there's not a lot of problems to solve. And like, it's boring, dude. Like the best times in my business, the best times in my life is when I face that uncomfortable growth. And like, again, there's times and places for everything. Like when business is going good, money's coming in and we're chilling, like, dude, that's cool. It's fun to kind of take the back seat every once in a while. But like when I really get invigorated is when like we're growing and we're scaling, and within that there's problems and I have to train new people and employees, and I have to write out SOPs and I'm doing things that I've never done before. That's when you learn, that's when you grow, that's when truly you start to have those quantum leaps. And I think implementing that as much into our lives as possible, as much as we can on a daily basis, is super important, because it's like, dude, and like even on top of that, like taking risks, right? And so again, I'll use myself as an example here. Like, dude, I'm getting to a point where financially in my business, and you and I have had this conversation, financially in my business, in my life, like, dude, I'm at my current living standards and what I'm paying for rent and how much I'm saving is like over these next couple of months, it's like, dude, I'm kind of growing beyond it. And so what do? Dude, I create this new goal for myself. Well, I want to up-level my life. I want to move downtown. I want to pay double what I'm paying now. No, I want to pay double what I'm paying now for rent because I want a better life for myself. Perfect. Go elevate to the next level that's going to allow you to make more money to pay that amount of rent at and put away in the savings to make yourself feel comfortable. New fucking challenge. If I wanted to stay where I was and stay in the same apartment, dude, I could do that, and I could be in a great place and, maybe fuck off for a couple months. But I'm someone who is optimizing for growth. I'm optimizing for a better life. I'm optimizing for a better apartment. And so with that is going to be cool. What do I need now? What do I now need to do? Who do I need to become? What does my business need to be doing in order for me to hit those new financial goals, right? So create those challenges for yourself.
I love that. Create challenges for yourself. They will demand you to grow and elevate yourself. And so, again, going back to wrap up the conversation, to get to some of the meat and potatoes that we promised before, let's talk about, after you're aware and you're willing to put in work and change, the go deeper piece and concretely taking action. What are 5 or more tools that the audience can implement today to improve their well-being and their mental health?
Yeah, totally, dude. So like mental and emotional optimization tools, right? And these are things that you can do today on a daily basis. They are free. They don't cost any money. Super simple, dude. Like the first 3 that come to mind is meditation. Dude, there's a million, right? Let's start with that, right? Meditation is huge. Getting into a consistent meditation process, and particularly finding like transformative meditations that I have that have transformative processes in the sorry, I'm getting a bunch of notifications here that have transformative processes baked into them. So going into meditation with an intention, going in and finding some neuroplastic meditation, some transformative meditations, and then just getting on a consistent meditation process. And dude, doing that on a daily basis, right? It's like HGH steroids for your brain. It truly is, man. It dials your physiology down. It dials your neurology down. And so it puts you into a state. It gets you internally on the biological, the chemical level into a place of peace and more, to be operating at a higher level when we meditate on a daily basis. So that's a big one. Number 2 is sleep. Like, dude, just having a consistent, oh my gosh, dude, sorry. Having a consistent sleep pattern that we're in, going to bed at a certain time, waking up at a certain time, is critically important to, again, dialing in the physiology, dialing in the neurology, dialing in all of those things, and dialing in your emotions, dude. Shooting for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. The facts are out, the research is out. You should be getting that every night. And here's the thing as well, sleep's a great indicator of your mental and emotional well-being. Dude, I know for me, like before I really got into this, and I see this with certain people, is they're up all night, dude. They're out, they're drinking, they're getting fucked up. They don't go to bed to 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning. They don't get good sleep on weeknights. They're on their phones all the time. Like, I think I think someone's sleep patterns on a very, very real level and their ability to fall asleep and find peace and calm in sleep is a great indicator of their mental and emotional well-being and their overall peace and happiness and joy in life. And, that's a conversation for a different time. But dude, if your sleep's not dialed in and you don't find peace and calm and going to bed and the joy of like laying in your bed, like you should examine that immediately. On top of that, journaling, super important, dude. Just something simple, man. I mean, I write 3 things I'm grateful for every morning, every night. I'm journaling and writing how the day went and what I'm trying to optimize for and all that stuff. So that's a really important one, journaling. Number 4, I would say, would be physical exercise and, getting on a consistent exercise process. For myself personally, whenever I come home, I don't know what it is, but I get lazy. I don't go to the gym in the morning, and I get off the exercise pattern, and I feel it. I feel it mentally and emotionally. And again, it's like meditation, dude. The research is out. Like, if you're not exercising, you're leaving money on the table. And the 5th thing that I would say, if we keep it to 5, dude, is dude, one that's, near and dear to my heart over this past year, moving to Austin, Texas a year and a half ago, really know people down there and not having a social environment to where I am today, which is having a really, really healthy social environment, both back here in Massachusetts, where I'm from originally, and a bunch of friends from high school and college that I get to see, but also down there in Austin, having people like Chris Bussing, having people like Logan Steed, having people in my life that, I truly love and that love me back, and fulfilling relationships of people who are shooting for more and pushing for me to go for more in life. My 5th one would be social, man. And I have clients and I have people who they have the success, man. They have the money, they have the wealth, and they don't have the social wealth, dude. And I see the pain that it causes them. And, I was thinking about it the other day. And, I was thinking about, man, would I trade where I'm at in my life financially and professionally to have more money, but not have the social environment that I have? Like some people that I know who, are doing well in their careers or financially are doing well, but maybe don't have the social dialed in. And I was like, no, dude, I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I truly believe that having that in my life has been game changing, and it's worth its weight in gold. And there's been research that's shown, Dr. Matthew Lieberman's book, Social, Why Our Brains Are Wired to Connect, where they ran a research study and somehow connected, social wealth to actual monetary wealth. And like, dude, it's worth its weight in gold. And so that's the 5th thing I'd say. And another thing that came up, maybe we can make it the 6th, Chris, or we can just leave it at 5. The 6th is passion and purpose, man, and really finding something that you're passionate about, finding your quote unquote purpose, and then aligning yourself to that as much as possible. Again, there's been times in business where I've struggled. There's been times in business where I haven't made a lot of money. Dude, doing what I love on a daily basis and getting the opportunity to do things like I love, like hop on podcasts, like hop on sales calls to get our speakers booked, like, hopping on with coaching clients that I truly love and that is fulfilling, has done absolute wonders for my mental and emotional well-being. So, yeah, man, that's what I would say. Those are kind of some of the tools that I would say for dialing in mentally and emotionally, optimization tools on a daily basis.
Those are great tools. And it's a great reminder for me, and I think for the audience out there, that in itself is worth its weight in gold for this whole conversation. And so one thing I will say to the passion and purpose, I'm glad you brought it up. I think that could be the ultimate.
I think it might be too. I think that and social are up there.
Because everything, it eliminates, when you have a purpose that compels you and a passion, it's like that we come alive with vitality. And all the anxiety becomes small, like other problems become small. And so, because there's like reducing suffering, like mental and emotional health, and like reducing the challenges there, and there's tools. And then there's like human flourishing. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a huge one. And of course the others, like meditation being HGH for your brain. That was a classic quote. I'm going to use that. So Joe,
it's true.
Well done, my man. My guy. And I had any other things to add on that? I had like 2 more quick questions to wrap it up.
Yeah. And I do have a hard stop in 7 minutes. But no, man, you can, I mean, I guess the only thing that I would say is like, dude, like, do this work, man. And I don't know exactly the message I'm looking to hammer home, but I think it's like, dude, do this work. And the greatest project that you can invest in is yourself, right? The greatest project that you can do is digging deeper into yourself. The more that the more that I've dug into myself, the more healing that I've done, the more personal development that I've done, it's fucking addicting, because you start to realize that if I can do one thing, I can do anything. It's like business, man. If I can make a certain amount of revenue in a month, 1 month, what's to say I can't do that consistently? And what's to say that I can't do that at scale? And the same thing goes for who you are as a being. I'll use, something that Chris, you and I have talked about, like cold approaching women. Dude, it's something that I'd never done before. I was super scared to do for a really long time in my life. And I started doing it, and I started seeing results off of it, and it becomes addicting, right? It becomes addicting of like, oh, dude, I can go up to a beautiful woman who I'm attracted to and feel compelled to. I can say hello to, I can get her number, and then I can have her out on a date a couple days later. I'll take that bet all day and get past the resistance of the fear that I have in going up to her, right? And so keep doing this work, keep digging into yourself, and like the results you get are tenfold to the work that comes into it.
Yeah, that's a great example. And hey, for a woman who wants to boldly approach men, taking action in your love life, and not waiting and sitting on your hands waiting for, love to just fall on you. It's great to be proactive and to have the chance to get to know, who is that attractive stranger? Are they cool? And could there be a great connection? I love that. And so my 2 questions, because I also have a call now it's like 5 minutes. So right there with you. The final 2 questions are any book recommendations for people to go deeper. It might be an NLP or just overall an optimization, mental and emotional optimization, or dealing with roots. So any book recommendations, and then of course, where can people find you and get connected to follow you on socials, and if they want to have a coaching call with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, man. Can I send you the booking link of where they can? Well, I'll offer that after.
Yeah. So basically, first is any book recommendations, and I will link in the description of the video your socials or wherever you want folks to follow, and also a link to book a session with you. So
perfect, bro. Awesome. Yeah, and I'll prelude to that in a minute as well. Yeah. So I mean, dude, the books that I would say is one of the books that I really love is there's a couple books. One is called It Didn't Start With You. That's a really, really powerful book. It's all about, where kind of trauma comes from, where our habits come from, who we are as individuals. And again, dude, not getting into the victim mentality. It's just like understanding that, dude, things didn't start with you. The anxieties that I have are probably similar to the anxieties that my dad has, right? And same for you, right? The habits that, my eating habits are probably similar to the eating habits that my great-great-grandparents had, because there's biological and there's chemical underpinnings that help you really understand that, dude, the things you have they didn't start with you, and you are more than just the person that you think you are. And it's not to shed blame, but this is one of the first books that I read on personal development that really allowed me to optimize and go to the next level. So that's one of the ones. Another one is these are all kind of trauma related books. The other one is called Childhood Disrupted. Really, really good. All about trauma, all about really digging into your past. And I think it's important to understand these things. Start from the beginning, right? Start from the patterns and the habits and, the things from when we were younger. So Childhood Disrupted is a really good book. Off of that, oh man, there's a million good ones that I could think of. Anything Jordan Peterson has written. Atomic Habits is a really, really powerful book. James Clear, really, really easy read, fun book. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, 12 More Rules for Life are super powerful. But yeah, those are a couple that I'm thinking of that come to mind immediately. I guess another couple would be like The Power of Now. Psycho-Cybernetics was a really good book that I just read. What was that?
I've heard of that. One of my
really good
colleagues at Google, and she is a just top performer and amazing human. She said Psycho-Cybernetics. Yeah.
Really, really good. In terms of where people can find me, Joe Johnston on Instagram, TheJoeJohnston. Can find me there and on Instagram. And then, yeah, man, if anyone wants to book a call, I'm going to offer a free 30-minute coaching call. If anyone wants to chat a little bit more, they think our coaching programs, want to learn more about it, or they just want to connect more and kind of tell me where they're at, what their story is. Dude, I've heard it all. I've heard everyone's deepest, darkest secrets. And dude, anything you tell me about it is like, dude, I'm not going to be scared off. And I think that's one of my superpowers, that I'm easy to talk to. And I like hearing that stuff, man. I always have. With my friends growing up, it was like my female friends would always come to me and tell me about stuff. And I loved it, man. And I think I have that nurturing attitude. So if you just want to chat, if you want to learn more about our coaching programs, Chris will tag that 30-minute coaching call down below. And yeah, bro, I really appreciate you, man. I'm grateful for you. I'm proud of you and seeing that your work and your growth and development, man. And I can't wait to be almost your neighbor in a couple months here when I move downtown. So
Joe, thank you for the time. There was so much meat and potatoes packed into this conversation. I know anyone who is watching today live or who watches in the future will get a lot out of it. And hopefully it lights a spark that sets them on fire in their life and maybe reframes their perspective. And so thank you for the time. Thanks for being a great friend, for coaching and teaching me. And I'm excited to keep growing together. And this isn't the last time we'll talk on the channel. So everyone, I want to thank you for showing up today, or anyone who's checking out this video in the future. Make sure to give this video a like. Give that like button a love tap. The algorithm loves that, as I said, and it'll show this video to more people who might benefit from the message. And make sure to subscribe for weekly sales, mental health, and personal growth hacks that you can chew on like snacks. All right. Happy selling and happy living.
Thanks, bro.
All right. Bye.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.